Hello and welcome to the video tutorial on Microsoft SQL Backup using NovaStor DataCenter software. We'll be creating a backup job as well as covering the options involved and verifying that we have the permission to back up our SQL databases. Before we actually create the backup job for SQL, we're going to go into SQL Management Studio to verify that we have permission to back up our databases. So you'll load up Microsoft SQL Server Management Studio. If you don't already have that application, go ahead and download and install it. And on the left side, you'll have Security. Expand that, go to Logins. Underneath that, you're looking at NT Authority System. And then on the right side, for the login properties, you have Server Roles. And then in our case, you're going to have Public and Sysadmin enabled as server roles. Sometimes Sysadmin is not enabled, so you go ahead and check that box and click OK. Back in the backup program, we're going to click on Backup Jobs, and from here we're going to do right-click New, and then Database, and then SQL. We'll go ahead and define a job name, and we'll go ahead and type that in now. And once done there, you're going to click on Node pull down, and in our case we have multiple SQL servers, so I'm going to pick one of our SQL servers here as SBS, or we'll use App Server 16, and then you click the button to list all of your SQL Server databases. By default, it's going to show all databases. You can do custom to select the individual databases and expand the list, and you can have a checkbox interface here to go ahead and select your databases individually. And once you're done selecting those databases, you can click OK. And we're going to cover the backup schemes. So backup schemes are the basically the way that the backup is going to process. So we have three different modes here: database mode, log files, and differential. Database is going to do a full SQL database backup, not including the log files. Keep in mind you will have to have the log files to restore your database to point-in-time recovery, and it normally is required to do a separate backup job for both the database and your log files to have a complete ability to back up and restore your database. Log files mode is what you would define in your normally second job to do with your SQL backup. That's just going to back up the log files, the transaction logs. And the other mode here we're going to cover is the differential mode, and differential mode is going to be the backup of the database since the last changes have been the last full backup has been performed. It's going to back up the differences, and keep in mind that does not include the log files. So you do have to have a full SQL database backup before you can use either the log files mode or the differential mode. So what I was getting at was normally people create a full database job and then they create a log files job. Beyond that, you could do a differential. Go to Target Schedule when you're done with that, and this is where you can pick your media pool. And in our case, we have a disk pool, a single tape pool, and a tape library at the bottom here. So we're going to choose, in our case, the disk pool, and we're going to go down to Schedule, and Schedule has predefined schedules, and these schedules you define prior to getting to this point. You could create a new one as well in that list. So we're going to pick Daily here, and we're going to go to Options, and Options has a General Options and an Advanced. Use Client Compression is default enabled on RLE. RLE is a CPU optimized compression routine which has low system intensity, but it is the least amount of compression. zlib 1 through 9, you have that support too, and you can get more compression out of those, although it does require more CPU. The other options here are going to be use client software encryption to encrypt the job, and you have a way to limit the network bandwidth for this job here. Advanced options, you have some advanced options here. Normally you don't change any of that. So once you're done with all the options, you can go ahead and click the OK button here, and now the job's created. You can right click on that job, SQL backup job, and then go to connectivity test. Connectivity test will allow you to test the connection from the SQL server to the backup server and then to the storage target client, meaning the SQL server. When you're done here, click close and right click on the job again and go down to start. And once you click on start, it'll show the job name to confirm, and then click OK and go over to top left monitoring. Monitoring will show you the job details, time that the job has started, and various items like transferred amount, and a name of client, name of server. So in our case, the job just finished. It was a very small database, 1.33 megabytes. So this concludes the video.